Hi guys, good day. It's me, Teacher MJ. Our topic for today class, it's all about factoring polynomials by grouping of terms. So without further ado, let's do this topic. So this is actually requested from our students, our subscribers, and our followers. I would like to give thanks and shout out to them. This answer is for you. Alright, so let's start with number 1. So 9x squared plus 6x plus 12x plus 8. So the thing that you will do, class, to factor this out by grouping, you need to factor the first term and second term, okay, and the third term by the fourth term. Now, to factor this out is you will need to do the common monomial factoring. So if you want to know more about common monomial factoring, I will just put the link on the description down below with regards to common monomial factoring. So once again, class, we will be answering this one step by step for you to really understand how to factor polynomials by grouping. Alright, now for the numbers, class, you check 9 and 6. You find the GCF, the greatest common factor. Now, during your elementary years, if you still remember, to find the GCF of 9 and 6, for 9, the factors of 9, you will do it this way. If you still remember, factors of 9, that would be 1 times 9 and 3 times 3, right? These are the factors of 9. 1 times 9 is 9, 3 times 3 is 9. These are the factors of 9. For 6, that would be 1 times 6 and 2 times 3, right? And this will be the factors of 6. But it will take time, class, if you do it this way. So the GCF of 9 and 6, that would be 3. The greatest common factor of 9 and 6, that is 3. But it will take time, once again, if you do it this way. So the thing that you will do, class, you think it this way. You find a number, that number can be divided by 9 and 6. Right? So you find a number, that number can be divided by 9 and 6. 9, we can divide it by 3. And 6, we can also divide 6 by 3, right? So the GCF is 3. That's how you find the GCF, class, of 9 and 6. You think of this way. You think it this way. You find a number, that number can be divided by 9 and 6. Of course, that would be 3. So the GCF is 3. Now, for the variable, class, you select the variable with the least degree, with the least exponent. So since x here has an exponent of 1, okay, understood that there's 1 here, so we will be selecting x for the variable. Once again, class, we just focus on the first term and second term. Okay, first term and second term only. First thing to do, you focus on the first term and second term. Once again, for the number, you find the GCF, we select 3. And for the variable, we select x. X with exponent of 1. You select the variable with the least exponent. That would be x. And then you put parentheses. Alright, and then you divide, class, 9x squared divided by 3x. So 9x squared divided by 3x. So divide, class, 9 divided by 3 is 3. X squared divided by x, simply copy x. And then you subtract the exponent, 2 minus 1. Once again, in dividing polynomials, you copy the variable, copy x, then you subtract the exponent, class. Understood that there's 1 here. So 2 minus 1, your answer will be 3x. 3x raised to the power of 1, or just simply 3x. So this will be 3x. Then divide 6x divided by 3x. Once again, you divide 9x squared by this common monomial factor. And 6x divided by 3x. So 6x divided by 3x. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. X divided by x simply cancel. So that would be positive 2. Alright, so that would be your first answer when you group this first term and second term. Now let's have the third term and the fourth term. So what would be the greatest common factor of 12 and 8, class? You find a number, that number can be divided by 12 and 8. Of course, that would be 4, right? Can we divide 12 by 4? 12 divided by 4? Yep, 12 divided by 4 is 3. How about 8? Can we divide it by 4? Yep, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So therefore, the GCF of 12 and 8, that would be 4. So you put positive 4 and it will be positive 4. And then you divide, class. 12x divided by 4. You put parentheses, 12x divided by 4, that's 3. Once again, we cannot factor this out by the variable. Okay, because 8 doesn't contain a letter, so we can only factor it out by 4. So 12x divided by 4. Okay, erase this part, please. So divide this one, 12x divided by 4. There are some cases, class, that your teacher will factor this out by putting a parenthesis. Example, 9x squared plus 6x plus 12x plus 8. Then you will put parenthesis. You group this one. Do not include the sign between second term and third term. So there are some cases that your teacher will do it this way. That's okay, but you can also do it this way. So what would be the greatest common factor of 12 and 8? That would be 4. So 12x divided by 4. Once again, we only factor the number since 8 doesn't contain a variable. So you just need to factor the number, class, for 12 and 8. So the GCF of 12 and 8, that is 4. So 12x divided by 4, that would be 3x. 12x divide 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. X divided by none, simply copy 3x. Alright, and then 8 divided by 4, that's positive 2. And that's it, class. That will be your factors now. So you can also check, class, if your answer is correct. You can also check that if your answer is correct. By what means, sir? You can actually distribute, class. Distributive property. You multiply 3x times 3x, that would be 9x squared. 3x times positive 2, that's positive 6x. 4 times 3x, that's positive 12x. So let me write the answer. 9x squared. 3x times 2, that's positive 6x. 4 times 3x, that's positive 12x. 4 times 2, that's positive 8. Therefore, your factor is correct. Now, once you check by distributive property that your factor is correct, you can now solve for your answer, class. So you copy the common factor. So the common factor is 3x plus 2. So you can make this one as a whole. So 3x plus 2. That will be your first factor. And then you copy this one, class. 3x and positive 4. 3x plus 4. That's it, class. That's your answer for number 1. So 3x plus 2, you make this one as a whole, the common factor. And then you equate this one, 3x plus 4. Copy, 3x plus 4. That's it. That's the answer for number 1. Quite tricky, right? But if you master this out, this will be easy for you. Alright, so let me erase this one. Let's put the answer for number 1. So for number 1, we have 3x plus 2. Alright, two factors, 3x plus 2, and the other one, 3x plus 4. Alright, let's try number 2, class. And then you try number 3, class. Let's answer this one. All the questions. Okay, let's do that. But once again, it will take time for us to answer that one. But do not be worried. We do it step by step for you to really understand this one. So let's have x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x plus 6. Once again, you factor the first term and second term. So let's start with the first term and second term. Of course, class, you check the degree if it's arranged. So we have, you check the exponent, class. So we have x cubed, x squared, x with the exponent of 1, and then the number. So it's already been arranged. So therefore, let's start with factoring. So for x cubed and x squared, what will be the number, class? So of course, there's 1 here. Alright, understood that there's 1 here in x cubed. So 1 and 3. The GCF of 1 and 3 is only 1, right? So therefore, we cannot factor the number, class. It's only 1, class. Understood that the common factor of 1 and 3, because 1, the factors of 1, that's only 1 and 1. For 3, the factors of 3, that's only 1 and 3. And the GCF, that is 1. So therefore, we just ignore the GCF of 1 and 3. Alright, so let's focus on the variable. So what will be the common factor of x cubed and x squared? Once again, for the variable, we select the variable with the least exponent. So therefore, we can factor this out by x squared. Once again, class, always remember, for the number, you find the GCF. For the variable, to find the GCF, you select the variable with the least exponent. So we select x squared. Because this is x cubed, so therefore we select x squared. And then you divide, class. Okay, x cubed divided by x squared. So x cubed divided by x squared, copy x. Then subtract the exponent, 3 minus 2. So this will be x raised to the power of 1. Or you can write it x. Understood that there's 1 here. So x. And then you divide class. This one. 3x squared divided by x squared equals 3 divided by 1. Understood that there's 1 here. 3 divided by 1 is 3. X squared divided by x squared simply cancel. So this will be plus 3. Easy, right? For factoring. If you master number 1, of course, this will be easy for you for number 2. Next, we factor third term and the fourth term. So what would be the common factor for the number 2 and 6? Yep, that would be positive 2, right? For the GCF. Can we divide 2 by 2? Yep, 2 divided by 2 is 2. Can we divide that 2 can be divided by 6? Yep, we can divide that 2 by 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So therefore, the GCF of 2 and 6, that would be 2. So plus 2, positive 2. Of course, for the variable class, we cannot factor the variable since 6 doesn't contain variable. So we can only factor this out by 2. And then you divide class. 2x divided by 2. You put parentheses. So 2x divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then x divided by none, simply copy x. So 1x, or you can write it x class. Understood that there's 1 in x. Then 6 divided by 2, that is positive 3. Positive 6 divided by positive 2, that's positive 3. Alright, so we have a common factor, x plus 3. So therefore, you can just simply copy. You can just simply copy this factor, x plus 3. You make it as 1. And then copy this one. This one class. X squared plus 2. That's it, class. That's the answer for number 2. Quite easy, right? For number 2. Alright, so that's the answer for number 2. So let me erase this part. So if you master this one, I'm sure it would be really easy for you, class. For numbers 3, 4, and 5. So this will be, so we have x plus 3 and x squared plus 2. Let's start with number 3. Proceed to number 3 now. So we have, so check if it's arranged. The exponent, yep, we have x cubed, x squared, x raised to the power of 1, and then the constant. Alright, let's start. X cubed plus x squared minus x minus 1. So once again, you factor out the first term and second term. So since for the number it's only 1, understood that there's 1 here, so we just ignore the number class. The greatest common factor of this x cubed, so we have 1 here, and for x squared we also have 1 here. So the greatest common factor of the number is just 1, so we just ignore 1 class. So we need to factor the variables. What would be the factor class? The GCF of the variables. So once again, we select the variable with the least exponent. So that would be x squared. Then you put parentheses, then you divide class. Okay, once again, for the variable, just select the variable with the least exponent. So that would be x squared. Then you divide. X cubed divided by x squared equals, so once again, if you're dividing polynomials, you copy the base, copy x, then you subtract the exponent, 3 minus 2. That would be x raised to the power of 1 or x. So that would be x. And then x squared divided by x squared, that would be positive 1. So once again, x squared divide x squared. You can cancel this out and this will be 1. Okay, understood that there's 1 here. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Cancel x squared, so the remaining will be 1. Close parenthesis. Alright, and then for this one, negative x minus 1. So what would be the greatest common factor? Once again, this one here doesn't contain x. This negative 1 doesn't contain x. So we have negative 1x minus 1. So what would be the greatest common factor, class, of negative 1x and minus 1? Of course, that would be negative 1, right? We can factor this out by negative 1. Right? We can factor this out by negative 1. So copy negative 1. So factor this out by negative 1. then you put parentheses, and then you divide class. Negative x divided by negative 1. So you can write this one negative 1x divided by negative 1. So negative 1 divided by negative 1, that's equals to positive 1. Then x divided by none, simply copy x. So this will be 1x or x. Alright, and then negative 1 divided by negative 1, negative 1 divided by negative 1, negative divided by negative is positive 1. So we have positive 1. Close parenthesis. So once again, class, you can check your answer. Once again, you can always check your answer, class, to check if your answer is correct by doing the distributive property. So let's check, class, if our answer is correct by distributive property. So you always check your answer, class, before saying that that's your final answer. So let's check by distributive property. X squared times x, that would be x cubed. So once again, if you're multiplying variables, x squared times x, x squared times x, if you're multiplying variables, simply copy the base, copy x, then you will add the exponent, class. 2 plus 1, that would be x cubed. So once again, in dividing, you subtract the exponent. In multiplying, you add the exponent, class. I hope you understand this one. Remember this one, class. In multiplying variables, you copy the base, then you will add the exponent. In dividing, you will subtract. Alright, so x squared times x, that would be x cubed. X squared times 1, that would be positive x squared. Alright, x squared times 1, that's positive x squared. Then negative 1 times x, that's negative x. Negative 1 times positive 1, that's negative 1. Therefore, our answer is correct. So let's check by distributive property. This one, and we get the same answer. So this will be our factor, class. Alright, quite easy, right? Is it easy for you? So our factors will be, we have copy this one, make this as 1, x plus 1 and x plus 1. So x plus 1, then the other one, x squared minus 1. So if the teacher will tell you that you can still factor this out, once again, class, x squared minus 1, you can still factor this out. Alright, you can still factor this out, x squared minus 1. So it depends on your teacher. If he or she tells you that you just need to have two factors, two binomial factors, so this will be your answer, because this will be two binomial factors. But if your teacher will ask you to factor all, okay, all the polynomials, so you can still factor this out, class, x squared minus 1. Once again, class, ax squared plus bx plus c, the quadratic equation, class, if you don't have the value of your linear term, bx, once again, class, a linear term is a number together with a variable with the exponent of 1. We call it linear term, this one. So if you don't have the value of your linear term, you only have the quadratic term. Example for this one, x squared minus 1, you only have the quadratic term, which is x squared, and you only have constant, which is negative 1. Okay, so you can factor this out. If you have this kind of equation, x squared, then the number, your constant, is a perfect square. Okay, if it's a perfect square, you can also factor this out, class, by the difference of two squares. Once again, if you don't have the linear term, you only have quadratic term, and then the constant, and the number, okay, and the constant is a perfect square. So once again, class, perfect squares, we have 1. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 16, 4 times 4 is 16, 25, and so on. These are perfect square because the square root of this particular number, you will get a whole number answer. So if you have quadratic term and you have a constant, and the constant is a perfect square, therefore we can still factor this out by the difference of two squares. So let me explain the difference of two squares. So once again, we can only apply this one if we don't have the value of b. Difference of two squares, class. It says a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b quantity a minus b. How to do that one, sir? Example, x squared minus 25. So to get the factor of x squared minus 25, your answer will be, so you put two parentheses, okay, two parentheses, then you get the square root of x squared. The square root of x squared is x, you put 2x, And then you get the square root of the last term. The square root of 25 is 5. Put 2 5s. Then you put positive, negative. Easy, right? Once again, to factor the difference of two squares, you get the square root of x squared. Once again, you put two parentheses. Get the square root of x squared. That would be 2x. Get the square root of 25. That would be 2 5s. And then you put plus minus. That's it, class. Even if you check this one by FOIL method, you will get the same answer. This one. Let's check, class. X times x, that would be x squared. You still remember the FOIL? First, outer, inner, last. X times x is x squared. Outer, x times negative 5, that's negative 5x. Positive times negative is negative. X times 5 is 5x. Inner, positive 5 times positive x, that's positive 5x. Last, positive 5 times negative 5, that's negative 25. Then you combine like terms. So this will be x squared. So you can just simply cancel this out because negative 5 plus 5, that is 0. Subtract. If the signs are not the same, you subtract plus. So 5 minus 5, that is 0. So you can just simply cancel this out. Then minus 25. You get the same answer, class. So once again, if you have a perfect square for constant, just get the square root of the first term, x, copy. Get the square root of 25, that's 5 and 5. Then you put plus minus. That's it. That's the factor. So this one, therefore, this x squared minus 1, we can still factor this out. Alright, we can still factor this out. Or you can have this answer, class. It depends on your teacher. But actually, we can still factor this out. But if your teacher will insist that you only have two binomials, this will be your answer. But the final answer, class, it should be x plus 1. Then we have x plus 1 and x minus 1. We have three factors, class. X plus 1 and x minus 1. Okay, once again, copy. Okay, or let me just write. We don't have enough space, but let me just write this one. Or we can have, once again, this first factor is x plus 1. And the other two factors, once again, this x squared minus 1. We can simplify this one by two parentheses. Two quantity is square root of x squared, that would be x, 2x. Then square root of 1, that's 1 and 1. Then you put, once again, the square root of 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Then you put plus minus. If you multiply this one using FOIL method, you will get the same answer, this one. So our answer, class, will be x plus 1, this quantity. Or we can have or, then there's two factors, class. X squared minus 1, this will be the answer. X plus 1 and x minus 1. So you can have these two answers, class. It depends on your teacher. But actually, class, if you can still factor this out, you need to factor this out. This will be our final answer, class. But once again, it depends on your teacher. But for me, class, this will be your answer. If I will be your teacher, this will be your answer. It should be this one, class. Alright, so let's try number 4. So once again, you check number 4 if it's arranged. Nope, it's not arranged. So we have x cubed, x squared, negative 4x. So you need to arrange this one, class. You arrange this one first. So we can arrange this one as x cubed comes first, then x squared plus 2x squared, then minus 4x, then the last will be constant. Alright, and then we factor this out. So once again, let me write it here. We don't have enough space now. 2x squared minus 4x minus 8. Alright, so we can factor this out by, once again, for the number, it's 1 and 2. So the GCF of 1 and 2 is only 1. So we just ignore the number, class, because the GCF of 1 and 2 is only 1, class. The greatest common factor of 1 and 2, it's only 1. So we just ignore the number, class. So we factor the variables x squared and x cubed. We can factor this out by x squared. Select the variable with the least exponent. Then you divide, class. X cubed divided by x squared, that would be x. Once again, x cubed divided by x squared. Copy x, then you subtract the exponent. 3 minus 2, that's 1. X raised to the power of 1, or x. Then divide 2x squared divided by x squared. So 2x squared divided by x squared. So once again, we factor this first and second term. Always remember, first and second term first, then next will be third term and fourth term. So x cubed divided by x squared, that's x. 2x squared divided by x squared. So 2 divided by 1, understood that there's 1 here. 2 divided by 1 is 2. X squared divided by x squared, you can cancel this out. So our answer will be positive 2. Close parenthesis. Alright, and then, okay, what would be we find the GCF of negative 4 and, okay, let's have the third term and fourth term. You find the GCF of negative 4 and negative 8. What would be the greatest common factor of negative 4 and negative 8? Of course, that would be negative 4, right? Okay, you can factor this out by negative 4. You copy negative 4 and then you divide plus. Negative 4x divided by negative 4. Negative 4x divided by negative 4. So, negative 4 divided by negative 4, that's positive 1. X divided by none, simply copy x. That would be 1x class. Alright, you put parentheses, open parentheses. So, negative 4x divided by negative 4, that's positive 1. X divided by none, simply copy x. And then you divide negative 8 divided by negative 4. Negative 8 divided by negative 4. Negative divided by negative is positive. 8 divided by 4 is 2. There you have it, class. You will have the same common factor. So you can make this as 1. Once again, you can always check your answer if your answer is correct by distributive property. Let's check, class. X squared times x, that would be x cubed. Alright, and then x squared times 2, that would be 2x squared, positive 2x squared. Negative 4 times x, that's negative 4x. Negative 4 times positive 2, that's negative 8. You will have the same answer, class. Therefore, this will be your factor, class. X plus 2, okay, and x squared minus 4. So we don't have enough space, class. So let me just erase this one, class. Once again, we convert this one into this equation. We just arrange, class. So I will be erasing this one. And remember that we arranged this equation, okay, this equation by this equation. This is just the same, class. Once again, this is just the same. We just arranged this equation by this equation with its particular degree. So we have 3, 2, and then 1 for the exponent, class. So let me erase this part. Remember this one. And we just need to copy this one. Because we don't have enough space, because I'm so sorry for this one. So we don't have enough space. So let me just write it here, the arrangement. So we have x cubed plus 2x squared minus 4x minus 8. Alright, so I hope you're still with me. So would you like to answer this number 5? Okay, I will just put the number 5, class, for your assignment. So once again, for number 5, class, okay, for number 5, you answer number 5, class, and you put your answer in the comment section down below. Let me check if you really understand our topic. So we have negative x plus 2x squared plus 2x raised to the power of 5 minus x raised to the power of 4. Once again, class, you arrange before answering. You arrange, class, the degree. Always remember this one. You need to arrange before answering. Alright, so our answer will be, so we have 2 factors. So we have x plus 2, you make it as 1. X plus 2, then the other one is x squared minus 4. Once again, class, if I will be your teacher, that's not your final answer yet. Why is that, sir? Alright, why is that, sir? So let me just erase this part. Why is that, sir? Because, okay, why is that, sir? Because this one, class, x squared minus 4, class, we can still simplify this one. Once again, ax squared quadratic equation, class, ax squared plus bx plus c. If you don't have the value of your linear term, okay, a number together with a variable x with exponent of 1, you only have x squared minus 9. You only have the quadratic term and then the constant, the number. So you can still factor this out if the number, okay, if the constant is a perfect square. Now, 4 is a perfect square, class. So therefore, this x squared minus 4, we can factor this out by, once again, for x squared, once again, you put 2 quantity, you get the square root of x squared, that would be x. You put 2x, you get the square root of 4, that is 2. Then you put plus minus. That's it, class. This will be the factor of this x squared minus 4. Once again, even if you check the FOIL method, you will get the same answer. Let's try, class. FOIL method first. x times x, that would be x squared. Outer, positive x times negative 2, that's negative 2x. Inner, 2 times x, that's positive 2x. Once again, x times negative 2, positive times negative is negative 2x. Positive times positive is positive, 2 times x is 2x. Positive 2 times negative 2, that's negative 4. Combining like terms, so combine like terms, this will be x squared. Negative 2 plus 2, so if the signs are not the same, you subtract, this will be 0. So you can just simply cancel this out, minus 4. So therefore, you will get the same answer for this one. So you can factor this out by this equation. So our final answer will be, you can have this one. So once again, if I will be your teacher, you need to factor this one out, class. It's necessary, class. But once again, it depends on your teacher. If the teacher will tell you, you just need to have 2 binomials, so this will be your answer, class. So you can have x plus 2 quantity, so you can still factor this out, x plus 2 and x minus 2. Alright, so that would be your answer, class, for number 4. So once again, you try number 5, class. So let me just arrange this one. So arrange this one. This will be 2x raised to the power of 5. Then number with exponent, a variable with exponent of 4, x raised to the power of 4 plus 2x squared, then minus x. You try this one, class, and you put your answer in the comment section down below with regards to number 5, because our time is already 30 plus minutes. So when you factor this out, class, first term and second term, once again, you select the variable with the least exponent. So we will be factoring this out by x raised to the power of 4. And for this one, that would be x. So you try, class, and you put your answer in the comment section down below. Let me check if you really understand our topic. So once again, I hope you learned something new today. And if you learned something new today, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. You share it to your friends, class, and to your classmates so that we can help more students. Once again, this is Teacher MJ, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.